Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Lord, please, please grant us the grace and the mercy to understand the topic that we're discussing here today. Lord, give us all that discernment that you've put in each one of us so that we can understand, so that we can develop, so that we can also help each other in the understanding of personal and social values. Lord, I would also ask that you would bless each one of us individually and collectively. Bless our families, bless our households, bless us, Lord, so that we may grow in your word and be more understanding, not only of ourselves, but of those around us. Lord, I can only ask that your grace and your mercy continue to cover all of us each and every day. Thank you for everything that you have done, will do, and are doing. In God's name I pray, Jesus' name, amen. This is, of course, a general studies course, and it is 101. So this is the basic course. So if you logged in and thought y'all was going to see something else, you got me today. But this hopefully will be as interesting as the reading that I was doing has been. And I just, encourage that we have a lively participation and discussion. I do believe we'll have more people join, so y'all won't think just the three of y'all have to get bombarded with everything. But even if it's just the four of us, as the Bible says, what does it say, Sister Catherine?
If 2 or 3.
Yep, if 2 or 3 gather in my name.
Gathered, so
that's all we got.
We got a quorum.
Yep, that's what it takes. All right, so as I stated, I am, as the slide says, I am Judge Raquel Rocky Jones. And we're going to, as you see from the agenda, today is we're going to start off kind of easy. We're going to, of course, get to know each other a little bit better, hopefully. We'll do the course overview, kind of let you know what to expect. And then I've tried to break it down, because if you've had the opportunity to even glance at the book, let's say we'll talk about that, how you can go on Kindle and actually get this book, the virtual version, or get the version downloaded. It's like $5.99. So even if you look at it online, when I started reading it, and I actually have the actual paperback version of it, I will tell you, you go, oh my word, all these sections, all these chapters. So it's not as overwhelming as I thought once I got into it. I'm like, oh, that's just 5 pages. Oh, that's just 2 pages. So we'll break it down that way so that we can kind of actually really discuss what each one of the subtopics are, so that we can pull personal values together. I will tell you that as a course overview, that personal values are going to take up a majority of our classes. We'll have probably 2 full in-depth classes discussing just personal values by itself over 2 classes, whereas moral values, we can do that, in 1 session, but this one will probably take several sessions. As you see in here, we have a few stretch breaks. We'll determine how long we need those breaks to be. I understand we all can't sit somewhere for 3 hours, and in my job, I sit a lot. So I want to get up and move around as much as possible. And then, of course, we'll chat about what the assignment for the next week will be. And then we will do our wrap up and see if there's any final questions about what we discussed today. All right. So as I said, we're going to do our greetings and discussion. So this is what I look like when I am at work. Well, my hair changes. My hair changes every week. It just depends. But I am actually a presiding district judge. I am actually in trial this week, and the particular trial that I'm trying is actually made national news. So I've had people from all over. Oh my God, I saw you on TV. Is that you? Yes, that's me. So my day job is, yes, I am a criminal district judge in Texas. That means that I handle all felony offenses. So if a person committed any felony as you could think of: murder, robbery, burglary, things of that nature. That's what I do. A little background about me. I was actually born in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm a transplant to Texas. I did all my, I would say, formal schooling because we moved to Texas when I was about 12. So by the time I was getting to 5th grade and 6th grade, we were in Texas by that time. And I went to high school right here locally, and then I went to Texas A&M University in College Station. If y'all watch or know anything about football, we're a very, very big football school, and we say Giga Maggies. That's what we do. And then I went to law school at St. Mary's University in San Antonio. It's a Catholic law school, so it was interesting. When I graduated, we had to do mass, and I was like, but I'm Baptist. But I did learn a lot, just about a little bit about that faith, and even how they ran our campus on school, our school campus. And so that's a lot about me as far as I would say my educational background. Then work-wise, so I graduated from law school, and while I was in law school, I had the opportunity to study abroad. So I actually studied international criminal activity in Austria, and that was awesome. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court Justice that just passed away, RBG, she was one of my instructors when I was there. The funniest thing is, while I was studying abroad in Austria, my family kept asking me, "You see any kangaroos? Have you seen any kangaroos?" Austria, not Australia. So yes, I brought a lot of them shirts back that said, "No, I did not see any kangaroos," because they kept getting Austria and Australia mixed up. And but anyway, so when I graduated from law school, I have been I've done a little bit of everything with the law. So this topic is perfect for me because I've been a lawyer for the government, which I was a prosecutor for about 19 years. I've been a lawyer for over 25 years. So imagine, I know I look real young, right? I started practicing law when I was 12, but so of my 25 years, I've been a prosecutor for 19, but some of those other years, I've been a civil attorney. I've done corporate law. So I've kind of gone, all these ways to circle back to say, you know what, I really, really loved what I did in regards to prosecution, because I really felt like I was helping people, whether it was a victim that came in on a crime or whether even it was a defendant, and I could help that defendant get some help or get some treatment. And then, of course, I decided to run for judge in 2017. I had to leave my job, talking about a leap of faith. So this means giving up a very good career, giving up very good money, because by this time I had moved up in the DA's office, but I felt like it was a calling. I felt like I could do more in that position. And so that's what led me to be a judge. And then, of course, when we bring it truly full circle, me and my husband moved to DeSoto a few years back because I knew I wanted to be a judge in Dallas County. I had to move out of Arlington, which was Tarrant County. And the lady who was babysitting my son, Miss Carolyn Hannah, she said, "Well, baby, what church you go to?" So I explained to her that I was still going to Bethlehem Baptist in Mansfield, which is about 40 minutes from our house. So I was still making that drive. And so she was like, "You need to come visit community." So I was like, okay. So I came and visited a couple of times. And if y'all have seen or heard or watched Pastor Epps preach, he hooks you in, and next thing you know, you join him. And then after you join, you have a couple of conversations with him, and then you'll be like me and Sister Catherine. Next thing you hear yourself going, "Okay, Pastor, what you need me to do next? Okay, what else do you need?" And so that's what has allowed me to be so blessed to be able to be a part of the Epps School of Ministry, as well as being a Bible study teacher when they need somebody. And I always say, if they calling me, boy, they must have ran out all kind of other teachers. But I do truly appreciate it. And then of course, the true introduction I should have gave myself was, actually, I am the daughter of Ella Jones, if y'all remember her from her class. And she has no idea that I put this picture in there. So that's what she gets.
I saw Anthony's mouth fly open.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything. Yeah, this is what it is.
So I may have heard tale, and she called me the other day and was like, by the way, on your class, I may have mentioned your name once or twice. I was like, oh, you trying to tell on yourself. You're trying to tell on yourself. So as I like to tell people, I am the daughter of the Ella Jones. And as y'all have met her, she is one of the smartest people that I know. She is definitely my hero and or shero. I am an only child, and my mom was never married. So the two people you see on this picture were together all the time. And it's always a fight between her and my aunt. So I have to put that picture up next week of who is the proudest of me. So I have two aunts that are living and two uncles that are living. And they because I was the only child for with my mom, and then all my other cousins, they have siblings, so it's always been me. So my aunts and uncles always felt like, oh, she by herself, we need to take her in. And anyway, so that is the debate amongst my mom and her siblings, who's the proudest. So since y'all met Ella Jones, y'all probably knew more about me than I could have told on myself. So that is enough about me. I want to know who each of you are. Now, Sister Catherine, I know a lot about you, but why don't you tell me something that I don't know?
Good evening, everyone. In fact, all of you know a lot about me. I'm trying to think of something you all don't know. I don't know if you all know my latest little grandbaby is only 6 months old. I don't know if you know that.
I did not.
She makes number 8.
Wow.
So that's 8 great grandchildren.
Wow.
What I've shared before, and I'm not sure if you know, Judge Rocky, is I was actually called to the ministry when I was in my 20s, but because of the age and the traditions and customs in the Baptist church during that time, women weren't recognized as preachers. And so in 2019, and actually I feel totally blessed in being at Community where I met other women preachers. And then God sort of motivated me again and said, okay, you know, you've gone all this time. And my dad was a pastor. And so he was the one who was the old traditional women don't preach. And he had passed away. And so in 2019 is when I preached my first sermon and got my license and actually accepted this calling where I was called so long ago. But I did accept at an early age the call to teach. So I have been teaching for all these years. So.
Yay. Thank you.
And the reason I'm taking this class is because Reverend Amy makes me. No.
Oh, stop it.
No, I am really interested in personal and social values. Some of you may remember we did a workshop a while back, and the workshop was it was not only a lot of fun, but it was very interesting. But I'm in this class, I know we'll be able to go more in depth than we did in a 4-hour workshop.
Good, good. Well, thank you, thank you. So I just see Miss Chester Sidney just joined us. I see, I can't see Sampson's face, but I see, there you go. And then Justin has told us about his camera. And so, all right, Mr. Anthony Maturin, did I kind of say it right? Maturin?
Indeed. Mathurin, yeah.
I'm gonna get it right. All right. So tell me about you, sir.
Okay, so good evening and pleasure meeting you, Judge. And I prefer meeting you on this occasion other than in your formal formal work.
True.
Yeah, so but as I said, so my name is Anthony Matre. I am from the Caribbean island of St. Lucia, Helen of the West Indies. I am an engineering technician by profession. I'm married, second time around. First time brought three children, two girls and a boy. And this one is, we both have our own, so already, so we won't be having any, we'll just be enjoying each other. I served in the Church of the Nazarene here in St. Lucia, and another pastor, a lay minister, but I am always ready to help out in any area. So whether it's to mow the lawn or to assist on the pulpit, I am ready to do that. And so in order to do that, especially in terms of ministry, presenting the word, I like to learn. And I know that there are lots of things that I need to learn. So as long as I get the opportunity to learn, I grab at it. And this is why I am here in this session this evening, and personal and social values. And I just hope that that I would be able to glean, not just glean, but to receive much from this class, which will be able to make me a better minister. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So Mr. Hankey, tell me about you.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening to you, Judge. As my name is Justin Hankey, I'm from the Caribbean island here, Grenada, a very small island in the Caribbean, in the Windward Islands, as we call it. Um, I'm a police officer by profession, also a musician, and also I am a pastor in one of the local churches of the Nazarene here in Grenada also. And I just love the Lord and I love doing things of the Lord. So hence the reason why I took this course, so that I can be more edified and be, in other words, to help and to, to bring more learning to the congregation. So I think that's it from me.
Okay. Well, thank
And
you, Mr. Hankey.
I'm happy to be a part of this course.
Good. Good. All right. Mrs. Chester Sydney, tell me about you.
Yes, good night. Good night, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is, well, let me get the name out the way. It's Bianchini.
Okay, Bianchini. Okay.
It's Bianchini, and I am a wife of a beautiful husband, a wonderful husband, very supportive. I like that Anthony mentioned a little bit of his past, so we understand where he's coming from, right? I think that's important when we look at the question, who are you? And so it has led me to say that this is my second marriage as well.
It's my second too, so we're all in the same group. We're all in the same group.
Right. My daughter is from my first, and my son is from the second. And I'm yes, what I would have mentioned as though I'm a mom of two, a boy and a girl, soon to be 12 and soon to be 8. Man, they just have me doing it all the time.
Wow.
Yes. I am a worship I'm from Ghana, actually. South America. I am a worship minister at the North Rumbling Church of the Nazarene in Ghana.
Okay.
And I do love being a worship minister. It is who I was created to be. And I'm a part of this class because I do believe that it's relevant. For some reason, I believe it will be relevant to my personal life as well as ministry, but me first, because for some reason, if I'm not at that place where God wants me to be, then I wouldn't be able to do his work effectively. So I do believe that this class will be first me. So yeah.
Good, good. Well, something else we share in common, I will tell y'all that I did not tell you. Yes, I am married. This is my second marriage. My first one lasted 15 months, but so happens that the person that I married way back when, this was what, 2005 when I got married. So I was divorced by the end of 2006. And it so happens that I married a police officer. So Mr. Hankey, I ain't gonna hold that against you. But I married a police officer. He happened to have the same last name as mine. So his last name was Jones. And my mom teased me the whole time. She was like, well, I guess you knew that wasn't gonna last because you didn't have to change anything. So, but I will say this new one has lasted so much so that I have a 7-year-old, I have a 6-year-old little boy. He is going to be 7 tomorrow. So he reminds me every day that his birthday is April 27th and that he wants to know what's going to be happening tomorrow. And he reminds me that his party is Saturday the 30th. So I understand what you have with an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. I understand. So now we have Mr. Sampson. How do you pronounce your name? Is it Jaba?
Juba.
Juba. All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Tell me about you, Mr. Juba.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Samson Juba, originally from Nigeria. I'm here in Grenada. I've been in Grenada for the past 12 years, and I'm a radiographer. I do X-ray and ultrasound. I work with General Hospital as a radiographer, and I'm a pastor in one of the branches of Church of the Nazarene Grenada here. That is Church of the Nazarene Grenada, Fontenoy. I love the Lord, and I have passion, for people, and I love to help people. I derive joy in seeing people moving forward, and that is the reason why I'm in the medical profession, which is it's a humanitarian job. So I'm delighted in doing humanitarian job, making people happy, seeing people going forward, progressing. So that's my own. I'm married to my Nigerian lady. I'm married with 3 children, 2 boys and one girl. 16, 14, and 9. They are growing up. So
16 and 14. Ooh.
So 16, 14, and 9. So it's been nice. I've been in Grenada for 12 years, like I said. It's been wonderful, cool and quiet island. It's good having joining this class. I'm a person that's prone to learning. I love to learn so that I can give to people. So that's the reason why I'm in this class. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Juba. So wow, I just appreciate how diverse class we have. I wasn't sure who was going to want to hang out with us, but thank y'all. It's from, I did not expect it. I did not. So thank y'all for spending time with me. And especially, I know it's an hour difference, so I will definitely try to make sure that we stay on task and on time. So now that we've gotten to know about each other, we'll do our little overview of the class. So y'all probably saw the syllabus. Attendance is important. I say that because although everything will be there for you to read on your own, it's something about feeding off of each other. It's something about hearing other ideas and opinions from other people, because it helps you understand the topic better or to see somebody else's viewpoint. So it is very important to me that we have our attendance. Now, y'all will notice something about me, especially after everybody giving me their background, that I'm a person, I don't tend to read slides to people. I figure we're all educated people and can read for ourselves. So I tend to summarize, or I will get other people, you know, in the class to, you know, read out loud to us, just so, you know, we can break things up. But just know that I tend to not read the slide to you unless it's something that I want to point out, because I figure y'all could, you know, read it for yourself. So also, when it comes to grades, everybody wants to know that, right? That's what's important. You know, how am I going to get graded on this? Because I don't want to waste my time and I not get credit for this. So when it comes to the grading system, once again, you saw this in the syllabus. It's probably as basic as can be, because I will give y'all another tip about me. I am not good at math. Oh my God. You should have saw me trying to figure this calculation out of how I could come up with 100%. It took Reverend Ramey to just finally say, Rocky, look, 25 plus 25 plus. I was like, oh. So I tell people all the time, I went to law school. I did not go to math school. So that's why my stuff is very basic. But everything that you see before you, we will go over it. Sister Catherine has already told me that we're going to make sure that the slide deck is downloaded into Canva. Everything that y'all know, that y'all will need to know for all three of these exams, will be contained on the slide deck. So if you just go back to the slides, I'll make sure and put some reference articles in there too. So that if you just want to learn some stuff on your own or look at some of the articles that I looked at, I'll make sure you have that as well. But as you can see, our grading scale is just like we've always known from every class we've ever taken. 90 to 100 is an A, and so on and so forth. So that is probably the easiest part, I would say, of this class. Now, the schedule. So once again, this is all in the syllabus. And as you see how I put on here that those April classes are going to be, well, the April and the May class are all geared on personal values, because that chapter of personal values is the longest chapter and section in the book itself. And so I wanted to give it its due time. I could have easily said, well, let's just wrap all this up. But no, it's some very good topics that I want us to delve into and really discuss, because even me reading and going over the lesson in the book is some stuff where I was like, really? I never thought about it that way. But, you know, let's kind of unpack it. Let's kind of see what we can, you know, do with it. But as you can see how this schedule works, when you get ready to have that first test, the first test will be May 3rd. So that test is going to be uploaded into Canva. And I'm going to let Sister Catherine talk to us about that a little bit. But as you can see, with each one of these exams, they'll be uploaded on the date of the exam. And then, as you know, they'll be due at 11:59 the next day. So basically, you have probably a little bit over 24 hours to get that test done and sent back to me. Or should I say, in Canva, it is set up so that I can do the exam in there. You look at the exam, you take it. But the thing about Canva is, when we say the deadline is 11:59 p.m., you won't be able to access it. So if that deadline is, let's look at the first exam, it says May 3rd, right? So by May 4th at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, on May 4th at 11:59 p.m., if you have not taken that test, if you try to log on May 5th in Canva, the test is not going to be there. So Sister Catherine, can you talk some more about Canva for us?
unmute it and let me
There you
unmute.
go.
Okay. Yes, and in fact, you got 2 minutes. It'll say that 11:59, and then it's gonna lock at 12:01. So if you can squeeze in that 2 minutes, you're good. So you will see the next day where it, and I'll show you that when we go over to Canvas and go through that a little bit. And some of them you actually have a little bit more time because the due date's on here. So you'll see, and I gave her time to upload it. I think the first one I put it could be uploaded by the 2nd that night, which means the next day, May 3rd. So it might be in there May 2nd at 11:59 that night. So she may load it up early on May 3rd or late May 2nd. But there's a couple of them where I think there's one where they have over the weekend.
Yep.
That it's just the way it fell because
that May 12th one.
Thursday, and we're going to review it on a Tuesday. So you actually kind of had a little bit more time. So you and the exams, I think the first one is the only one where you really got a 24-hour period, and the other ones you really got, I think, a little bit more time.
Yeah. So at this time, Sister Catherine, if you wanna, I can stop sharing. If you wanted to share what Canvas looks like.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
Okay. And if you would do on the share screen, give me
Permission.
a little up arrow and give me permission to share.
Okay. Oh, there it is right there. There we go.
Okay. Okay. And I think that everyone has, let me bring this back over to in front of me. Okay. So you all should be seeing a list of us and all of us who are in here. Is that correct? Let me make sure I did this right thing. In Canvas.
Yes.
Problems at the top. Okay. So this is where I've loaded everyone. I think, I'm not sure if we were using Canvas the last time you were in class, Bianchini. But in any case, it shows all of you as pending. And of course, that's because you haven't had a chance to go. I just did it earlier today. So no one has had a chance to actually go in and accept their invite. But once you do accept your invite and go to your home screen, you'll be able to see the syllabus that she was referring to. So everything that she was going over, the assignments, the grading is here, the attendance, and then what each exam is going to cover, and then the schedule for every day. When we go to the assignment page, okay, now this is what's going to be a little bit different. Well, it's going to be different because the exams that you've taken have not actually been in Canvas. And that caused a little bit of a problem last time when we took exams, but they linked over to Google. So we decided, no, we're going to do everything right here in Canvas. So as she said, this one's pretty simple. Class attendance and class participation, class assignments and discussion just means participating each night in class is 10%, attendance 15%. Everything else is the exams. So they're all equal, 25% each. And when you open the exam, okay, we won't be able to see anything. As it says here, the quiz is unpublished until she actually does it. But this tells you what it's going to cover. And it tells you here, when it's due May 4th, available from, so that's 12 to at 12:50 a.m., which is basically May 3rd. And
excuse me, Reverend Smith, are we supposed to be seeing the page that you're discussing, because we're still on the register page?
Okay, so it's not moving with me?
No, it's not.
All right, I don't know why you're not moving with me. Okay, and I see one error. I've got to change this date because it should be Oh, it says 12:01. I'll say, so that's, yeah, that's what I was saying you may see. So if it's due May 4th at 12:59, like I said, you got a 2-minute spread because I have to tell it when to lock you out, and I can't tell it to lock you out before it's due. So I have to tell it to lock you out after it's due. So it gives you 2 minutes. So 12:01 a.m., you're going to be locked out. But you won't be able to see anything until it's loaded up. So our only assignments are our tests. We're going to have 3 quizzes. So yay, we don't have any written papers.
I got this close to doing a practicum, but I'll be honest with y'all, it confused me.
Well, and I told her, I said, hey, we got 10 classes. We don't need a practicum.
So thank you.
Yeah, when we only have like 8 classes, or, you know, like with Oliver Phillips' class, there were only 8. So we had to do an additional practicum. We're doing 10 classes this time. We don't need a practicum. So back to the overall assignments, you know, that this is all you're going to have to worry about is each exam, and when they're available, she'll let us know, and the system will let us know, and we already know from the schedule when it's due. And then in files, when you go to files, she's going to start uploading tonight. There's nothing there now, but as she said, each PowerPoint deck that she goes through is going to be uploaded just like Dr. Phillips did for us. So tonight and probably the next few, I think she said she has ready, will probably be uploaded before the next class. So you may see like 5 or 6 of them by then. So any questions on Canvas? Again, going back to the people list, you have received low system effects. Okay. They're working on my house, so I don't know what they did. So they probably unplugged my internet and plugged it back in or something. So I see Bianca has already accepted, and so has Anthony. So you'll those who haven't, you'll get your email, and it'll say it's from Canvas, and then you'll just accept it, and you know, click start and then accept it. And I think the rest of you've done it before. Justin, Juba, yeah, you guys have done it before. So you're familiar with that part. So I think we're good to go. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to our instructor.
Okay, all right. Well, that was going to be my next slide. Any questions? So you're reading my mind. Is there anything right now that y'all can think of? And I want to take it a step further. Tell me at this point specifically right now, if there's anything specific that you want to get from this. I know Bianca kind of told me a little bit about why she's doing the class and what she hopes to learn from it. But, you know, I don't know if it's anything specific that any of you want to share about. This is what I specifically want to get out of this and take away from it. Does anybody have anything like that? Just so I will know how to be more specific. Or if not, y'all just telling me just to run with it.
Well, I'm going to share something, and I already shared this with you, Judge Rocky, and I think Bianca, you will really appreciate this, and I'm sure she's going to share it with us. But knowing more about yourself, there's some exercises, so I'm looking forward to those exercises where you really learn more about you. And when she shares that with us, I think all of you will appreciate it. But you answer certain questions. It's similar to the self-assessment that we did in cultural intelligence, but it has to do with personal and social values. So you answer certain things and it shares with you about yourself. And then I'm interested, as I said, the workshop was a quick overview. So I'm really interested in delving more into it, knowing about, we studied about, you had given us, you know, if you were a square or you were a round or you were a triangle and what those things meant. So I'm really interested to get into that.
Okay, all
When
right.
we do, you guys will understand what
That was that was definitely by popular demand and request, because I was like, well, I can come up with some more quizzes. She was like, no, they have to see that one. So
Don't
the good
love
thing
it.
about that is I didn't have to recreate it and make up new ones from my head. So that one will definitely be making a reprisal.
I mean, the
Definitely.
key, I'm sorry I interrupted, but the key thing, just to share with you guys, when I finished this, and so she said, okay, you ended up being this, and it was almost like a crystal ball. She said, you're the kind of person who's very detailed, and you know, everybody went, that's Catherine, that's Catherine. And she went through everything that an IT person does. You know, you fell right into this, into this, into this. So, I mean, it was like, wow.
Well, I liked it because the cool thing, and we can do that within this setting, is when people described what their picture was, which then told what kind of leader or personality they have, other people in the class goes, yeah, that's you. Yeah,
That's
that was you. And then we started calling people by that name. So for the rest of the class, we called Reverend Alexander Squiggy. And everybody knew what that meant. So hopefully when we get to that, y'all will see it really is like looking into a looking glass, or as Michael Jackson says, this man in the mirror. Because you go, wow, how did it know that? So I do anticipate that we'll do some things like that, because if we can't have self-introspection, then what are we doing this for? I know that we want to learn personal moral values just so we can operate within our environment, neighborhood, culture, but what about within ourselves, right? Um, it's more than just for the people around us, because if we don't do self-care and take care of ourselves, how can we help and take care of others? Or how can we give and show good examples of personal values and good morals and good spiritual values to other people if we don't embrace it and show it ourselves? So if nobody else wants to give any other thoughts on what they hope to learn from it, looks like we've been going for almost an hour, so we are up to our first stretch break. Just kind of, you know, stand up and walk around. I would say what here I have it at 6:52. So if we want to come back at like 6:58, a little bit before 7, you know, we'll try and get that good 5-minute break in. And maybe we'll take a longer break once we, you know, get into the meat of everything. I'm hoping that we get the going so much, y'all, that you go, no, just keep going. But I just think it's good for us to get up, get out of the seat, walk around for a bit. So matter of fact, yeah, let's do 6:58. That should give us a good stretch. So all right, I will see y'all at 6:58. Some of the meat on this plate. So as you can see, today we're going to cover just, they call it section A, but then section A has subsections within it. So we're going to cover section A, but as I stated, we're going to break up these personal values into 3 separate classes. So today we're going to discuss 1 through 11. And as you can see, we really start off, you know, basic, you know, hey, let's just talk about what personal values are. And then I think we start talking about some of the things I heard y'all say you wanted to hear about. Like, how can I use personal values to make my life easier? You know, what are some thoughts about how you can really simplify things? Of course, we're going to talk about the virtues of these personal values, some advantages, disadvantages. It's gonna be a lot of participation because, you know, I want to hear from what y'all think about. We're going to talk about, you know, some mistakes that we might make, as well as how we can be happy, feeling content, you know, things of that nature where you're like, okay, all right, this is stuff that I can really, as uh, Miss Chester Sydney. Do you go by Miss Chester Sydney or just Sydney?
You can say Sydney.
Okay, okay. I'm so used to calling people by their last name at work, you know. Sometimes I might say, you know, Bianchini or Anthony or something, but typically I always call people by their last name. So, you know, hopefully by hitting on some of these topics, this is the stuff that is personal to us. These are things that I hope that we can garner some very good examples and qualities that we can embrace by the time we're done with this class. So let's jump on in, let's delve into it. So when we talk about personal values, we're really talking about an internal system of reference, right? There is that compass that we all have inside of us. We don't even know where that compass came from. But if you think about it, we use these values every day, even when we're trying to choose lunch, right? Because based on if you're a vegan or based on if you're a vegetarian, or it's a whole bunch of things that go into even selecting lunch. Now, most people might think, oh, it's only what you have a taste for. No, it is sometimes based on personal values. Some people, since we have people from different countries, we know that in some countries, the value that they were raised with, meaning that beef, okay? They work, I ain't gonna say worship, but they value a cow, let's say, more than we do in the United States. In the United States, we'll get a burger, whatever the case may be. But depending on what your personal value is that you were raised with, or that was instilled in you from your parents, from school, from whatever culture you're in, that has an influence over the simplest things. Or as we said here, it could be that you want to impress your boss. So my mom always gives examples about me of what I heard. I never forget when I was graduating from law school, and even before that, I was going on different interviews, trying to get internships and things of that nature. My mom told me, she said, never season your food without tasting it. So transparency here. I am a salt addict. I love salt and I love sweets. I know that's a, oxymoron, but I mean, my family to this day, it annoys them because I'll get a salt shaker and I'm going to town. I don't know why. My mom thinks it's because my great grandmother, while my mom was in college, I stayed and lived with my great grandmother until my mom graduated and was able to come back home. So she says it's because they seasoned my food, that they seasoned it to their taste. So you can imagine my great grandmother and my great aunt, I was eating whatever they ate. So if they were eating cabbage, they were eating cabbage the way they liked it. I was eating greens. I mean, I was probably eating stuff babies wasn't supposed to eat. So she thinks it's because they seasoned everything so well. So she told me, she was like, hey, at least taste it first, Raquel. And you don't want to give that impression to whoever it is that you're having lunch with or dinner with, that can make a decision on whether or not they're going to hire you or have you work within their, company or organization based on what you do at this meal. And I didn't think about it. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, because that is telling them, or that is showing them that, you know what, this person is making a decision and a choice without even thinking about it. I didn't even taste it. And so from that point on, that was a personal value that she instilled in me. I mean, at least that's the way I took it, that I took away from that conversation. You never know who's watching, you never know who's looking, and that might be a value of theirs where they go, wait a minute, she didn't even taste her food before she seasoned it. Is she rash to make decisions? Or it might be a person that really abhors or doesn't care for, salt, and then they're watching me do this. They're already judging me. So it's stuff like that that you don't even think that you're doing. Or as we look at the next one, maybe you love ice cream because it reminds you of treats you got from your grandmother. That's something that is instilled in you. That is a a personal preference, or as we say, a reference system. You know, if I taste dreamsicles, it might take me all the way back to Fort Wayne, Indiana. And you know, so it's stuff like that that is instilled in us that we don't even know. You know, all of these are personal values based on ethical principles you constructed over many years. You didn't even know that you were making this building block. Can anybody think of any other examples, things that, you know, personal references or something inside of you that you don't even know just automatically just comes out?
Well, from what you just said, I actually have two examples. One of them is I would always, people say, you know, you drink coffee. I said, well, I've been drinking coffee since I was 6. And they go, 6 years old? But my grandmother drank coffee, and she would have me go make her a cup of coffee, because I always put in exactly what she wanted. I forget now, whatever it was, a spoon of sugar or however much cream. And when I would go in the kitchen to make her a cup, I would make me a cup, but I kept mine in the kitchen. And so one day she came in the kitchen, and so she caught me sipping my coffee. And so she said, you didn't think I knew that you were always making yourself a cup? And I said, no. And she said, okay, well, she said, bring your cup in with me and we'll drink coffee together. So she didn't get on me or, you know, spank me or say, you know, kids aren't supposed to drink coffee. So my grandmother and I, that was a custom that we did almost her whole life. And when I got to be an adult, I would still go to her house on Saturday mornings and we would sit and drink coffee.
Wow.
So that was one. But when you talk about values and how you choose, when I started studying in Deuteronomy about what we really should eat and what we shouldn't eat, it changed my eating habits. I don't eat pork. I don't eat anything from the sea except, you know, just the way it's described in the Bible. And I didn't do it to follow the law. I did it because I felt like, well, God knew what he made for us to eat. And so if he said, eat this and don't eat that, then it makes sense to me. That's what I ought to do. So I actually, you know, since I had more, my value system was changing into being more obedient to God and listening to him and trying to follow. It just made sense to me. Well, you ought to eat what he said eat, and what he said don't eat, you shouldn't eat that. So I stopped eating the pork and a lot of things, you know, I just started following it the way that it said to do it. So those were the two things that I thought about.
Anybody else? Now, y'all, my mom has told y'all her history. Ella Jones has been an educator probably as long as I've been alive. And I will start calling on people. I'm gonna let you think about it because we're gonna go to the next slide and it talks about some other values that you probably don't even know. So like choosing your career, these are some personal values. Your personal value may be, I need to know how much they pay me. You know, some people value maybe happiness. I just want a job that I'm happy at. But some people value money, let's say, more than happiness, or they value how long they got to be in the car. Some people value that personal time, or that time it takes for you to what's the word I'm looking for? They value more time at home than value time on the road, right? Look at that, choosing your spouse. It could be that you value redheads more than, you know, brunettes, or you put a lot of value on religion. There are some people that say, I can't date and or marry this person because they're Buddhist, or they're not, you know, Baptist, or they don't believe in the Christian faith. I mean, these are values that are personal to us. There are some people that value titles, right? That they could care less about the profession, but if you give me a title, I'll take that all day long because that makes me look important. Oh, that's right. I know it was something I forgot. And so that is, those are some values that we have to acknowledge them. And it could be who's in your family. You have some people in your family that, because of their values, and the best example I could give for that is, I hate to do this, but this is all I got to give. So I had a very, very, very good friend, and he happened to be Caucasian. And so I was selling my very first car. So he was helping me get the car in order, getting it cleaned up, and we happened to be around the corner from my mom's house. So I said, hey, we're not too far from my mom. Let's go over there so I can show her the car. It's all cleaned up, and this is what it's gonna look like when I take it to the dealership to trade it in. So I knock on the door. This is a very true story. At some point, I'm gonna bring her on here as a guest, and she will admit it, but very true story. I knock on the door, ring the doorbell. Apparently, she looks out the peephole first. And when I tell y'all, she cracks the door this much, and is like, yes. And I'm like, hey, mama, I was just stopping by, me and David were coming over, so I can, show you the car and all this. And she's still like, and yes. And I was like, yeah, this is my friend from work, David, me and him are friends. She's, oh, okay. Then she opens the door. Well, later on, I'm like, mama. She was like, what? Because in her mind, she immediately thought, oh my God, is my daughter bringing this Caucasian man over here that she dating? That's what she thought. I'm telling you. And when I tell y'all she cracked that door this much and stuck her face in like this, what do you need? What do you want? And so I was like, mama, and me and my friend David talked about it later on. He said, so your mom probably thought that I was your boyfriend, or she thought that I was trying to date you. I was like, oh, you figured that out? You can see that. He's like, yeah. I figured out. I was like, mama, you can't be doing that. That's embarrassing. She was like, but that's her, right? That is a family value, and her value is that I want, my child to have a significant other, or marry someone, or have someone that's of the same, background, cultural. She wanted to be Black. It ain't no other way I could put it, But because I was raised that way, and that's a personal value that she instilled in me, I knew that, growing up, I never thought that, oh, I would date or be outside my race, because it was just ingrained in me. And so now, before we go any further, I am going to ask that we have a word of prayer. I meant to start with that, but I started running my mouth so much. So if we would, all bow our heads. So Anthony, I see you took yourself off mute. You got an example for us?
Yes, please. Well, while growing up, when I was little, I was always intrigued because my father was a carpenter, and it was like I was awestruck when not just to realize that he could use a little piece of metal, a nail, and to construct a whole building, and to make it sound and secure. And I mean, although my father wasn't a great part of my life, throughout my life, as my mother and himself separated. But I mean, without thinking of that, I mean, this was the natural career choice that I make, without even thinking of it. That's the path that I gone through. I mean, it's engineering, building, and things like that. So I believe that even that little, that it had an impact in my life, which created that value, I believe, and allowed me to go into that direction. Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great example. And it's something as simple as, based on some of these personal values that we're born with, that could either make our path go left or go right. And if we're using the right to be the right side of the law, or the right path to go down, and the left being, the opposite of that. So I agree with you 100%. It's stuff that is internal to you that you don't even know about. Does anybody else have something? Okay, I'm gonna let y'all be quiet. Oh, Bianca, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you,
we're
Bianca.
talking about uh ethnicity, race. Growing up, though my siblings and I were from the same parents, we had different shades, complexion. And I found that persons favored the ones who were brighter. And my second sister, she was much dark. And it's like she didn't have her luck, we used to say. But growing up and experiencing or witnessing with my own eyes, either black or persons of a darker complexion being prone to being ill-treated, or just being treated strangely, just oddly, it bothered me. And it started from my sister, knowing that she's such a sweet person and she was just a child. She didn't deserve to be treated that way. And I believe it's because of her complexion. People started saying ill things, that maybe she's not from my dad and all these sorts of things. So I didn't even realize that I did it from such a very tender age, that I made myself favor darker persons. And so I found that I wanted to have a dark husband, right? I wanted to have dark children. I deliberately chose this. And so it became my preference. I lean towards, if I remember dating, if they were of high complexion, that was it. No, 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 thank you. No, ma'am. I'm gonna leave. But darker, the darker type, I would lean towards. And so I met my husband in school. Well, he's dark. And I find that persons now, not just my husband, but persons who are of a darker complexion, I would tend to treat them favorably. So that's my thing. I never came out. I think this is the first time I'm talking about this. So yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, just something that you don't even realize, you know. And I can't lie, I have that preference too. Oh, and I'm only child. But it's probably because I am dark, right? And so that is a perfect example, Bianca. Thank you. That's a great example. So if we go further, let's just look at it. The value of values. This gives us our definition right here. As I said, I won't necessarily read to you, but I think this one is important. Important and enduring beliefs or ideals about what is good or desirable and what is not. That's what me and Bianca were talking about. What is desirable, what we liked, what we preferred, the darker you. Value exerts major influence on the behavior of an individual and serves as broad guidelines in all situations. You just, because of that one value that you have has been born in you or has been created in you, that's what you used in your dating life. That's what you used even in picking your spouse. Or as Anthony said, something in him was like, that carpentry, that building. This is something that helped you make a desirable decision. Now, and it influenced you in ways you didn't even know. And so when we talk about personal values, these are things that are personal to us. Now we're going to talk about value in its truest sense of what we think about. When we think of values, good and bad, right and wrong, we're going to talk about that. But I wanted us to just talk about some core basic stuff that we don't even realize influences us. So if we go on a little bit further, this is some other examples, right? When we say our inner feelings and beliefs affect and influence our decision making and relationships with other persons, right? Personal values such as, what do we look for in people? I'm gonna put a few up here, but I'm gonna need y'all to jump in. What are some personal values that you look for in people? We look for people who are honest, people who are reliable. What are some other personal values we look for? We want trustworthy people, right? What are some other ones? I mean, even if it's just some other adjectives that we look for in people. Sister Catherine?
Loyalty.
Loyalty.
I'm loyal to people, and it bothers me when they are not loyal back to me.
Yep. What about responsible?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a value that you want to see in a person, that they're responsible. Is there some other ones y'all can think of? I'm gonna start calling on people. Mr. Jubu ain't said nothing. Mr. Hanky ain't said nothing.
I like that Sister Catherine said loyalty. I don't know, because I faced rejection so many times. I would normally say, I'm gonna stick around regardless. I think I was looking for someone who could reciprocate that. So loyalty matters to me, because we're all going to mess up at some time. We're not perfect. We're gonna lie. We're gonna be irresponsible. We're gonna be reliable at some time. But to just be there regardless, I think that matters to me.
Yes. Yeah. So what are some other good values, Mr. Juba? What are some other good values? Oh, Mr. Hanky took himself off mute.
I would say caring.
Caring, that's a good value. People who are caring.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Juba, what do you think?
My value?
Okay.
Well, I think honesty.
Honesty. So
and
that's
reliability.
okay. And what about, it was one I thought about and it just lost my mind. I can't believe I just went blank. Maybe it'll come back to me. But here's the deal. Much of the tension or dispute in the world, let's look at it if we look at world conflicts, and sometimes you have civil wars and things of that nature, even within a person's country, is mainly the outcome of the deterioration in the values people hold. People, you know, they don't hold honesty in high value anymore. They don't hold loyalty, you know, and because people are operating without a value system, that creates chaos, or that creates enough tension where people say, you know what, be darned, I don't have any of these values, and so I don't expect them of others. So whatever happens, happens. And if we keep that kind of mindset, we're going to get more chaos in the world. We're going to get more people not having, as we'll say, good values or strong values, and we'll talk about that later on. But here's the deal. Personal values, not a bad thing, right? It's not bad to have personal values. Some people think, oh, you know, you're judgy. You think that you're better than everybody else. Why? Because I have values? No, it's because, as we like to say, I was raised right. So that's why I have values. But if we look at some of these, Bianca, can you read the first two for us?
Sure, no problem. Personal values, not a bad thing. People who reinforce strong personal values think more about how they perform their actions and strive to adopt right values. They do not get swayed with momentary, or monetary success.
Okay. Anthony, catch those next two for us.
Sure. Personal values are helpful because they remind us all the time that right actions are preferable. If success comes out of right actions and hard work, it is real success.
All right. Samson, if you could read the next two for us.
Hello.
Yes.
The most important aspect of personal values is that they filter information and help you to judge what is right and wrong. I'm not saying the next one. Okay.
There it is.
Oh,
At the top.
okay. Personal values are a combination of various beliefs and understanding of human relationships. Personal values is essentially inner dialogue that directs us to make better choices when faced with complex situations.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Sister Catherine, if you would read the next two for us.
Personal values are an inner which each one of us needs to carry on within ourselves. Inner dialogue to make judgments without any outside influence.
And Mr. Hankey, Justin, go on and read this last one for us.
Personal values are reinforcement of purpose of life and self-worth.
Before you
Yes.
move on, before you just go back to, yes, there is this inner dialogue to make judgment without any outside influence. And why would it say without any outside influence? Because I would think that values are based on outside influence.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this further. What this talks about is those social. So we know it's a difference between personal values and social values. So when they say without any outside influence, some people are influenced, all their values come from society, from what is the happening, what is the now, what is, we use, for example, do y'all have the Kardashians over there in y'all world? Y'all know who Kim Kardashian and Khloe Kardashian and all them people? Well, a lot of people, they base their values on what they see them doing, right? So that's an outside influence. Instead of thinking what is right for me, it's, oh, what is the happening? What's the Kardashians doing? Because whatever Kim doing, that must be right. So when we talk about that inner dialogue, it's where you make a decision on a personal or a professional, whatever decision you're making, it's made on what values you have, not based on what you see in the world or in society or things of that nature. Does that make sense, Anthony?
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Can I say something, please?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, concerning what Anthony has just said, Brother Anthony has just said, I think it's very important we understand this. Based on my own experience with what is happening in the world now, and you know what happened. Like, I thank God you are a judge. Let's take, for example, from my own experience. If I'm attending to a patient, you know, my own is that I have to follow them according to the time they come, and I have to first. Those who come first have to be attended first. But do you know that outside influence, maybe a senior boss from the hospital management will now call and say, please put this one first. I feel bad. I feel battered. You know, in my they change my own ideology. They change my own value to put the right people first, which is supposed to be. It's happening in the church. It's happening in our businesses, which is not good. And I want to say that that, you know, as a judge, if you want to judge somebody, you have the case, you have everything according to the law of the nation. You have the law that is going to guide you. But what if the president of America tells you, this is our candidate, don't touch him? It's an outside, it's an external influence against your own value.
Yep.
Am I making sense what I'm saying, Salma?
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So,
that makes a lot of sense.
yes, these have been happening to me. These have been happening to us in this life. I'm in Grenada here for the past 12 years. I came from Nigeria. I'm a citizen of Grenada. I've seen a lot of prejudices on me.
Yeah.
Because they see as a foreigner, despite the fact Grenadian. You know why? How do I say that? You said I am. You are treating me like what other you said to love. I cannot. All external influence, they are telling them to. They are seeing them doing that, and they never touch them. And it's in the court law. We take things to law court, and the same judge will be taken because they send letter to him that this is a foreigner. Treat him like a foreigner, and I've been treated like one. And the law was never read in my. I mean, the law was never allowed to take its own course. You understand?
Wow.
That means if you are not, external influences affect your own value, our value in life. It's happening in the church too, where they treat me, they see me, they say this is why will you allow foreigner to come and take over a pastor job in Nazarene, in Grenada? Very, it's so hurtful. It's hurtful, but we just have to take it,
Yeah.
So that when they mention that, it's a very, very sensitive point that we have to make. There is still people still change your value because of the power and position they have.
Yep. And what's around
Thank you.
And I'm so glad y'all brought up the one about church. I mean, we can make it real simple. There are some people that they might actually feel, or as we like to say, catch the Holy Spirit in church, and you could feel that it's moving within them. But they're looking at the people around them, right? And they're like, well, I don't want to, shout, or I don't want to, let people see my emotion in church. Well, you're not letting that personal value or whatever you feel about the Lord come out in public. You're going to suppress that because you don't want to be judged by those around you. That is right there, is letting an outside influence affect that inner dialogue you're having with yourself. But that inner dialogue is telling you, this word is speaking to me. This pastor has picked a passage that is talking directly to me. That inner dialogue you're having with yourself, but you don't want to express that because you don't want these outside people to judge you, or you don't want the outside influence of everybody sitting here like this, and you feel like, well, I got to sit like that too. So I agree. This also comes within the church. Everything that we're talking about can either be, we're talking about our business. We're talking about just as Samson was saying, it's church. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that all of this can apply to. And so much so that I put this slide up because it says, life's easy if you live it the hard way, right? And hard if you live it the easy way. That kind of, sums up when they talk about personal values. Sometimes trying to have these values is hard. But if we just let it go and be loosey-goosey, oh yeah, sure. We think it'll be easy, but eventually your life is going to be harder because you have no values. So when we go over the next section in the book, it is living an easier life. So here we go. When we speak of living an easier life, it often means doing very little, laziness, less aspirations, and taking no responsibility. But with values, it means if we live a balanced life, taking care of physical, emotional, and inner needs. So when we hear people say, oh, I'm living an easy life, most people are like, oh, you just lazy, or you must not do nothing. You must not want to. No, if we look at it in its truest form, strong values means that we live a balanced life. That's what makes our life easier, because we're not having this constant battle of what's right, what's wrong. That value is already within you, right? So it helps you have a balanced physical, emotional, and your inner needs or even inner strength. If we look at this, if we have strong values, it means feeling an essence of soul and being in remembrance of God. That's what personal values give us. When we value something, when we value life, when we value others, when we take those personal values that we have within us, which is what, that inner dialogue that's telling us, hey, this is the right thing to do, this is the good thing to do. As we talked about with the patients, you knew it was the right thing for you to follow your protocol, and that this is the patient I should see next. It shouldn't have been where the administrator from the hospital says, no, you'll see that person next. They're trying to go against what you knew was good and true. They were trying to go against that value that you had. Also, if we look at the next one, it says the most important factor that can make life easy is to not worry about what? Rewards of our actions. If we worried about if we're going to get rewarded every time we do something good for somebody, every time we help somebody across the street, every time, you know, we in the grocery store and somebody drops something, we, oh, excuse me, ma'am, you dropped this. We're going to be living a long life trying to wait for that reward. Sister Catherine, can you add something to that?
I just wanted to share this. When all of you know, I raised my grandson when he was 10 or 11 or whatever. The neighbor behind me, our backyards face each other, and there's an alley between us. And an elderly lady moved in. And so I told him, I said, every time, you know, I said, it's hard for her. I saw her. I said, it's hard for her to get her trash out to the curb every Wednesday night for trash day, you know, Thursday morning. I said, so I want you, when you take ours out, you go get hers and you pull hers out. And I just taught him to do it, and didn't tell him he was going to get anything. I didn't promise him anything or anything. And so every Wednesday night, he would do ours, he would do hers. And he did that. He started doing it at about 10 or 11 or whatever. He did that until he went off to college.
Wow.
And when he got ready to go to college, she told me, make sure to let her know. And she came over and she gave him a card and she put money in it. And she told him, she said, I just want you to know what that little thing did for me. And it just almost brought him to tears, you know, because he just got used to doing it. He was just doing it, never thought anything about it. And then the next day when he brought ours back, he would take hers back. But that was such a big thing for her, where it was just something small for him. And he didn't do it for reward, but when he got his reward was her letting him know how much that meant to her.
So you taught him the value of compassion. You taught him the value of helpfulness.
And I have to say this, and he taught it back to me because we were in the grocery store, and I had a back procedure. So I was in one of the riders, and he's tall. So I had him, you know, and I would go, get that, you know, reach for this, reach for this, reach for that. And I turned around and I said, reach for something, and he wasn't there. And I looked around, I'm like, where did he go? And so when he came back around, I said, where did you go? And I said it sort of annoyed. And a man came around in his own personal wheelchair. And he said, oh, please don't be annoyed. He was helping me.
Oh.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, Derek. You know, so I had to humble myself. But he did learn compassion, and he would just help people. Every time he saw somebody that needed help, he would go help them.
What is that? I got ministers on here. What is that famous verse? I believe it's in Luke. Train up a child in the way he should go, and he shall never depart from it. Right?
Yes, yes.
That's exactly what you did. That is a value that is now within him, and you didn't even have to go tell him to help that man.
Mhm.
but that's the way you raised him. And you used another word that is very, very key. And it's like you read my slides ahead of time. So I'm gonna let you go and read this one for us, Sister Catherine.
Okay. Simplicity does not mean ignorance. It does not mean backwardness. It does not mean stupidity. Being simple in life will make us to enjoy with sufficient time to pursue all our needs. Truth in life is better understood when we are humble, simple, and contented. When simple, we feel the need of our body and that of our inner soul, eliminate all the possessions which have no significant value to our enrichment. Simplicity is an attitude in life which brings both outward improvement and inner peace. It is the need of present time when world is most complex.
You use that word humble. You see that right there? When you can humble yourself in any situation, you know, and that's what you taught, you know, your grandson, humility. And so if we can learn to be humble and we can learn to be content in situations, that's what helps for an easier, simpler life. A simpler life doesn't mean that I just want to go through the world being slow or simple or any of the negative connotations that comes with it. It just means that I can humble myself to, you know, possibly help others. I can get that value. I can get reward just from helping people. That is a good value to have, that you want to help others, that you want to be a helpmeet or a helpmate, depending on which version of the Bible you have. And then we have some of the true values of a simpler life, right?
And
Look
I'm
at,
just an additional comment on simplicity. I totally agree with the previous slide. It doesn't mean you're ignorant or stupid or anything like that. I really do not like those connotations of simple. I have people to tell me a lot of times, because especially with directions, well, why don't you go this way? It's quicker. And I go, I'm not looking for the quick way. I'm looking for the simple way. Because sometimes the quick way is complex, or I don't like to go over tall, high bridges. I go this way because it's the simpler way. And I direct people the simple way. You know, now we got GPS, but before, you know, well, why didn't you tell her to go this way? I'm like, that's more complex. I gave her a simple way to come. You know, so.
That is, and see, that's the other thing. So when we look at some of the true values of a simpler life, if we say we want a simpler life, these are the values that we would look for in ourselves or others. We have what? Love, contentment. We got truth. We want to look for people who have, or ourselves have spiritual development. Honesty. We talked about people who have a value of honesty, or people who value faith. You know, what is that saying? If you don't believe in anything, you'll fall for everything.
Yeah.
You got to have faith in something. What if people don't have the value of responsibility? Or hope is a great value to have, a personal value that goes right along with faith. You want to have a value of learning. Some people, I graduated from high school, that's all I had to do, I'm done. They don't have the value. We could substitute education there. Friendship, that's a good quality or value that you want to see in someone. You want them to have instilled in them, or you instill in others. The value of awareness or self-esteem. Now, you know, the value of awareness is you are aware that you're hurting someone else, right? You're aware that maybe words can be painful, maybe words can be harsh, but also you want to hang around people that have a good value of confidence or self-esteem. You want to be around other people who are positive, right? You want to have that positivity around you. And patience, the value of patience, that speaks volumes, just the value of patience. And you want somebody who has ethical values, someone who is ethical. You don't want to hang around shady people. Because if they're unethical, you never know when they're going to turn unethical on you, right? Or people who have situational ethics. It depends on the situation, what kind of ethics they going to use. So we want to make sure that if we're trying to look at people that have values, your life will be simple if you have love in it, if you have truth in it, if you have spirituality. And like we talked about here, I put ethics on there twice, but I meant to say with integrity. You want to have people who have the value of integrity. Someone who looks at things the way that you do, and have the integrity about themselves to do things in a just and right manner. And integrity, we don't see that a lot in the world. I mean, it's if we talk about the last president that we had here in the United States, a couple of these things he didn't have on this list right here. Here's a couple of them. I could go down just one side. Truth, honesty, I can go down that whole side. He didn't have a lot of them. And if we go further, there are many reasons why integrity is a strong virtue when we talk about personal values. So let's delve into that as far as there are many reasons why integrity is a virtue. The core principles of integrity are virtues such as what? Compassion, being objective, being dependable. These are all words that you notice we keep saying these same things, but these are personal values that we would hope that not only we have, but those people in our inner circle have. You want to be around people who have a value of who are generous, who are honest, who are kind, who show loyalty. We've already talked about respect. We've talked about trust. What about wisdom? What about maturity? These are all good values for people to have. A person who has integrity is able to acquire and hold on to good personal and moral values. If you have integrity, right? What when we say integrity, what do people think integrity means? Give me somebody give me your own basic definition of what you think integrity is.
For me, I think you're doing the right thing because it's right.
Yeah, that's a good, yeah. You're doing it because it's right. Anybody else? When you think about the word integrity, what does that mean to you? Mr. Hankey, you're a police officer. What do you think about that when people say, you know, integrity?
Well, it's all about yourself being honest in the office you hold and what you are doing.
Yep, that's a good example. You want to have integrity about any position that you have. Bianca, it looks like you had took yourself off mute.
That's it. What Justin said. I was gonna say honesty.
Yep, and that's what we have up there. Honesty is definitely one of the top ones. So here's some stuff that I want us to look at when we talk about integrity. That is one of in the first chapter of this book, they spend a lot of time talking about integrity is one of the better values and virtues that anyone can have. So as we see here, adopting integrity enhances our resolve to hold on to some good values in life. What is the point in discussing good values and expecting others to abide by them if we are not able to practice it in our own life, right? I mean, if we're not going to be people of integrity, let's say within your own household, if you can't even be truthful to the people in your own household, how are you going to be truthful to those outside of it? And then if we go down further, if you read this one for us, Bianca.
Sure. It's the first one or the second?
The second one.
Second. Integrity helps in dealing with others. A man who practices what he preaches is predictable, and few will feel threatened by him. Trust can develop. Since others will come to realize that we are consistently virtuous. May I go that over? Trust can develop. Since others will come to the realization that we are consistently virtuous. To act without integrity, even occasionally, is to make others feel distrustful.
And I don't think any of us want people to view us or feel that way about us.
You know, as we were talking, this reminds me of the saying, do as I do and not as I say. But how we live, it is do as I say and not as I do. And we fail to realize that leadership, what God is calling us to do, is to lead others. And if we're going to lead, then we have to say, do as I do. Let me show you how it is done, not just do as I say.
Yeah, like this one, this a man who practices what he preaches. That is the exact thing that you're saying. We want to see that. We want to see that. Anthony, could you read the next one for us?
Sure. I know that it is difficult for most of us to adapt to virtue, to be part of personal values. Still, there are ample moments in day-to-day life when, without losing anything, we can bring integrity in our dealings with other people. Talk straight and do not either glorify or underestimate anything. Learn to respect others. It will help us to speak what we believe without offending others.
Okay. Yes, please. Okay, y'all, give me 1 second here. Okay, y'all. So the thing that I hope that we took away from this particular section is that when we talk about you see how they talk about integrity is one of the most important personal values we can have. I never really thought about that. I mean, integrity is like either you have it or you don't. I never thought about it in this concept, in this way, that it is a core value, a core personal value. It's just either you have it or you don't. And so when I read these passages, and these are directly out of our book, out of our reading, that it just tells you, this is how and what we do and experience integrity every day. And I like that last one when it says, learn to respect others. It will help us to speak what we believe without offending others. There are ample moments in day-to-day life where, without losing anything, we can bring integrity into our dealings with other people. Just being honest, right? Just talking to people and not, as the slide above that says, the line above it says, without glorifying or even underestimating anything. And we can sum it up, just keeping it real. Isn't that the word they say?
Yes.
So this is not really a trick question, but how is trust like fresh air? Look at that. If there is mistrust in our dealings with others, it pollutes the entire atmosphere. That is just like air can become polluted. And if we just remember these basic concepts, right? So let's go on to the next major topic. What does it mean to be trustworthy? If we look at these three things, credibility plus reliability plus intimacy. Now, when most people see intimacy, they're thinking, oh, what, you mean hugging or kissing or things like that? No, in the book and in the reading, when they say intimacy, it means that you're willing to share with someone else things that you may not have shared with anyone else. Intimacy means you're willing to talk to someone one-on-one, not in this big crowd, not in a big setting. So when you have credibility plus reliability, plus you're willing to share with someone things that are most personal to you, that shows trust. That's where we get that trustworthy from. That's where you say, I trust this person will not harm me because they have been credible, they've been reliable when I've needed them, and they've been there for me personally. So when we see that, that's one of the things that we should think about, these three items when it comes to trustworthiness. Now, this is interesting right here. I'm going to show y'all something and ask your response from it. So you see this slide. Do you agree with this? I see Bianca's face like, I don't know. Bianca, what are you thinking? Come off mute.
I'm a very animated person. You can
I know, me too, right? Yeah.
Wow. I guess the facial expression, but then I don't think we should judge based on facial expression, because there's some pretty schemy people who would come with some smiles, and then maybe you can consider. I think that's it. That's it.
Okay.
The expressions, I guess if you're gonna look at that, if you're gonna judge from that, it would be inaccurate.
Okay. Justin, I see you're off mute.
Hello?
Do you agree with this slide?
Hello?
That's you, Samson. Do you agree with this slide?
Well, to some extent, well, like Bianchi said, that you don't judge a book by the cover. The word of God said the heart of man is definitely wicked, and nobody can ever know what is inside the heart. But then let me say something according to what my little knowledge in medicine, that whatever affects the heart will show in the face.
Oh, didn't know that.
When your heart is worried, it shows in your face. When your heart is troubled, it shows in your face. A merry heart will bring forth a smiling face. Though we know the heart is definitely wicked, but at least to some extent, when your heart is okay, you clean, and it shows in your face. When you see a troublesome person, somebody who is troublesome or wicked person, you will show it can never be a smiling person.
I did not. Did y'all know that? Whatever your heart is feeling, it shows on your face.
I thought of it that if this is who you are, then it would somehow get out there. It will seep out. But to me, it isn't always accurate. Because if you ask me, the one with a smiling face seems very schemy.
Well, that's a good one. Sister Catherine, what do you think?
I think that most of us, without thinking, we do this without thinking. When we see someone all frowned up, we think, I don't know if I want to trust them. I think if we think about it, we don't do that. We honestly, like Bianchi said, we can look at the smiley face and say, he might be up to something. But if we're not thinking about it, we have a natural instinct to not trust someone like the first face where it says low, or someone with the neutral face where we're kind of okay. And someone who's nice and friendly, we kind of, trust them. But that's when we've gotten cross and we found out, man, I thought I could trust him. He was all nice and smiling and whatever. And we've learned that the look, the facial look is not the main match. But if we're not thinking and we're just kind of going, you just have that, we will. I know, and I'm just going to be honest about myself. If I'm out in public and I see a face that's like that, it could have nothing to do with me. And like Juba says, You know, maybe something's going on inside them and it's showing on their face and has nothing to do with being trustworthy or not. But I sort of see that and go, So I kind of, let me steer clear over here, and we do that, sometimes, but it's something we should learn not to do. It's what I'm saying is that, yeah, we kind of do that, but we really should be learning not to do that. But I'm like you and your mom. I talk about my grandson all the time, but I took him to have a picture made. And so he's in this same outfit in two different poses. And I always tell people that's the devil and that's the angel. this nice little smiley look on his face, and everyone, they look confused because I go, that's the devil. The one with the nice, pretty smile, that's the little devil. And the one that's not smiling, that's the angel, because that's the way it was. So.
See, and and I think that with any of us, even in my job, you can't always, as Bianca said, judge a book by its cover, right? So that's why I said trust is based on both emotions and logic. It can't always just be that outer, what you see that outer. You got to kind of talk to these people. You have to know them. I use the example all the time in court when people go, well, I can't judge somebody else's credibility, or I can't judge somebody else's trustworthiness. I can't do that. And I go, you do it every day. Mm-hmm. And they said, no, what do you mean? I said, prime example. If you have a child, I'm going to use y'all who have kids, especially the 16-year-olds and the 14-year-olds. So let's say you have a 16-year-old daughter, and this young gentleman caller comes to the house and he says, I want to take your daughter out. You are immediately going into judging this person's credibility, because you're looking at if they're going to be trustworthy, if they're going to bring them back at the curfew that you told them to, if they're going to look, if they're going to drive fast, if they're going to wear a seatbelt. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that you're doing right there. Another example I give people when I say you do it every day, we all have that family member who has borrowed money from us, right? Family member or friend, you are immediately judging credibility right then. Am I gonna get this $20 back? Either by a past experience you've had with them where they ain't paid you the money back, or they haven't paid another family member back, or it could be that they go to the casino every week. So you are making that judgment. It's not a bad thing. It's not, most people want to say, well, I can't judge because of my religion. The Bible says I can't. Stop it. And so I love it when people come in court and go, Judge, I can't do jury duty because the Bible says not to sit in judgment of others, and I can't sit based on moral and religious beliefs. You make judgment calls every day. So that's why I put this slide. It was kind of like a little quiz for us. So look at this one. A strong feeling of trust towards other people develops out of spiritual belief. Would y'all agree with that statement? It's that whole thing, right? We got to believe something, or we're going to fall for everything, right? So, it's hard when you have people who they don't really have faith. I guess that's the best way to put it. They don't have that faith. And if they don't have that faith, you might not be as trusting in them, right? Have you ever noticed that?
It reminds me of something my husband said to me a day, I think it was yesterday. He said, oh, it's a spirit-taking world. So I guess, yes, it comes from a spiritual standpoint.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm sorry, y'all. I clicked the wrong button there. Let me move that over. Okay, there we go. Put this screen back up for us. And I agree with what your husband said, because, we have to, at some point, if you don't believe in anything else, you will fall for everything else. And so trust towards other people, you know, we have to trust, as they say, trust in the Lord at all times, right? Well, if you have that belief, you have to trust that one, at least I believe this, that the Lord put certain people and certain things in your path, right, on purpose. And you know, as they say, everything has a season and all that stuff. But trust towards other people develops out of a spiritual belief. If you believe in the words that we hear from that we've heard from the disciples regarding Jesus Christ our Lord, then that should come out. It should come out in our dealings. So what about this? Fearing so many things. Did I say that? Fearing so many things in life restricts trust. So let's look at some of these things. What would y'all agree with this? What are we afraid of? What are some other things other than these that I've listed up here? What are some other things? I'm gonna start calling on you.
I'm not going to add, but I'm going to comment on one. It just seems ironic, but people do fear success. You would think that you would not, but some people fear being successful at something, and I don't quite get it, but I've seen it, and I'm like, why are you afraid to? You know, you've got it. You know, you can do it. Why are you afraid to succeed at that? And I've just seen that a lot.
Anybody else?
Yes. Rejection. Not just myself, but my best friend. About 6 years ago when we met, I remembered I was so friendly to her and she rejected me. She was rude and she just had a bad attitude, and I would reach out to her. And I remembered at one time she asked somebody that knows me. Well, I'm gonna speak the Guyanese accent. Who she thinks she is, right? And the person was like, "Why would you say something like that? I know she's fake. She's fake." And he was like, no, if you get to know this girl, you would know that she isn't anything of the sort. She's different. Eventually, we got to know each other. Then I left the job. We went our separate ways, and then we met up again. And we just clicked. It was just the right moment when we clicked. And ever since, we've been best friends. And my fear of rejection and her fear of rejection, I would say that we got our healing and deliverance from that fear of rejection through being there for each other, being loyal to each other, being reliable to each other, being, you know, the things that you would, the traits that you would have mentioned before.
Oh, that's a good one right there. That's a good one. Anybody else? Y'all are so, man, y'all men are way too quiet for me.
Okay, I'll break the silence.
Thank you.
All right. So I see you have fear of failing, but failure. But before failure, there must be trying. So I will put that you have fear of. Some people have fear of being to try.
That's a good one.
That is a good
fear of trying also. Yeah.
I think the fear of caring ties into the fear of rejection and the fear of being hurt. Sometimes people don't want to care because of those two.
Yep. That's a good one. What else? I know it has to be some up here that we ain't listed, y'all.
Fear of being poor. Some people really fear being poor, and they do everything they can to make sure. I mean, to the point of letting go of the integrity, the ethics, and the other values because they don't want to be poor.
Or as I like to say, they'll step on their mama neck.
Yep.
They will step on their mother's neck yeah, I agree 100% with that. Is there any, let me see, fear of being hurt, fear of the unknown? Is there any other one y'all can think of?
But maybe also the opposite of what Reverend Smith said of being poor. So some people can have also the fear of being rich, and so they would just spend everything they have, or do things that prevent them from being in that position of richness.
Well, like you said, fear of that can go with fear of success, fear of being wealthy, fear of being rich, because why? They don't want to share it. Because you have some people that are like, oh, I don't want to hit the lottery because I know everybody in my family gonna come trying to ask me for some money. So there's the fear of wanting to be successful at something because you're afraid somebody gonna want something from you or ask something of you. And we have to get past that, because what does it say here? These act as hindrances to the development of trusting relationships. If we go around fearing rejection or fearing failure, then we're not going to open ourselves up to any kind of relationships. We're not going to. Mm-hmm. So our next,
before we go past that, another one that I think should be on that list, and it just came to me, and people try to put it on me, and I don't have it. The fear of being alone.
Oh, that is a good one.
When my grandson went off to school, everybody was giving me pity. Oh, you're going to be so lonely. Fear of being lonely. I should say lonely, not alone. Fear of being lonely. And I would tell them, I'm going to be alone, not lonely. I'm not going to be lonely. I'm going to be alone, and I'm going to have some alone time, But some people, I have had friends that fear being single to the point that they will get with anybody. They just don't want to be single. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to get with a man just so I cannot be single.
Yeah. I will give you this last example before we go on this break, y'all. So y'all have heard the story. I'm an only child, me and my mom. So she's taking me to A&M. And so in college, at Texas A&M, if y'all can imagine, it's one of the major universities in the state of Texas. So we're going there. And so they have a portion of the orientation where it's just for parents, and a portion of the orientation where it's just for the students. So my mom is telling me about her orientation for the parents. So by the time I get out of mine, now we're supposed to end at the same time. By the time I get out of mine, my mom was already sitting outside waiting on me. And I'm like, how long have you been out here? We're supposed to get out at the same time. She was like, oh, so I was in the orientation and it was all about empty nest. It was all about, oh, we're here because we know a lot of you parents are going to be lonely and sad, and we're just here to help you get through that because you're going to have empty nest syndrome, and we just don't want you to be lonely or afraid of being alone. It's just a natural part of life. So my mom literally says, you have to imagine she's in this big lecture hall. So Texas A&M at that time had 41,000 plus students. So if you could imagine, just the freshman incoming class is at least 10,000 people or whatever. But let's say maybe about 2,000 of those, or maybe in this orientation. My mom gets up from the middle of the row, and as we call it, she puts up that Baptist finger, and she starts stepping over people, talking about, excuse me, I'm sorry, excuse me, till she gets all the way out of the classroom, and somebody's like, ma'am, are you sure you're leaving? She was like, oh, I'm in the wrong room, I'm sorry. I am not going to have emptiness syndrome. I am going to get my life back. So for the past 17 years, my life was centered around that person right there. So she was just like you, Sister Catherine. I laugh. So to this day, she tells people that story where she was like, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong room. Oh no, I thought this was the room where y'all were just telling the parents some instructions on how you get the kids registered. Oh, this is the one where you're supposed to feel bad and sad because your kids are leaving. Excuse me. And she tipped out of that room, y'all. But anyway, that is great, Sister Catherine. I agree that fear of being alone, not a lot of us have that, and I don't have that either. So guess what? We are now at our next stretch break. So it is what? I have 8:15. So if we want to take a shorter break. Okay, so our next subsection that we're going to talk about, and a lot of these are so basic for us, we'll get through them probably quickly, just because it's some stuff that I really want us to hit on before we leave. So we've already talked about this one, honesty and dealing with others. We've talked about this when we talked about integrity, when we talked about being trustworthy. This is a combination of that. People may be truthful in day-to-day life situations. However, when telling truth is detrimental to your own self-interest, things tend to change. Well, if we're continuing to be honest, it's back to what I said before. This is that situational ethics, right? If it's detrimental to you, you ain't gonna talk about it, or you're not gonna be truthful about it. So this next slide talks about that. Fast talk often makes a person continue to lie about all the matters, one after another. In other words, one little lie turns into a big one. And it goes to that, it's just a little white lie. Well, that goes back to honesty in dealing with others. This section of the book just really talks about, you know, some examples of how we can make sure that we're being truthful within our own relationships. That if we're being honest, you know, we have to first set aside, let me say what I think people want to hear. That's not a good value to have. That's not a good way to be, whether it's in a relationship or at work. And it's definitely not good for parenting, right? You know, we can't do that. So I like this slide because it says, is it true that adopting honesty in absolute terms is a difficult proposition? Yeah, it's difficult, but you know what? That's what we have to do. It can't be that we lie to some and be truthful to others. No one can be deemed to be fully honest, but we cannot be dishonest. Y'all understand the difference? It is a big difference between being dishonest and not being fully honest. Prime example, if I say, oh, do I look nice in this dress? If you simply say, yes, but now if you're being fully honest, yeah, but that's a little tight on you. Well, maybe I don't want all that honesty, okay? But being dishonest is, you know good and well that I bought that dress 2 sizes too small. It is very unbecoming. It is, but you just outright lied to me. You know, I know that that's a rudimentary example, but you know, we know it's a difference between being dishonest and not being fully honest. However, we can make it a goal to try and achieve to be as honest as possible. Now, this was my favorite little cartoon that I put in here. To err is human. To really screw up is a plan. We all make mistakes, right? But when you really mess something up, you have planned that, you have messed up so bad that you have created a plan and a purpose to mess something up. So here are 10 of the most common mistakes that we make, right? That we often make in life. People don't admit mistakes. People often resist change. Look at this one. People often think they are more knowledgeable. We think we're experts in everything. No, not true. Living in the past or in the future, not present. That's a mistake we make. We live in the past. We don't even want to, you know, or we live so far in the future. We're not living in the present. We're not living in the right now. We're either living in, oh, I can't believe that happened 20 years ago, or we jump so far ahead where I can't wait till 5 years from now. We got to stop making that mistake and live for the now. People fear suffering. We talked about that before. That's a mistake we made where we're afraid we don't want to suffer. We're afraid to do that. The next one, living in the, I already said that one, did I not? Oh, okay. I did miss that one. Okay. Offering advice without being asked. We do that. We do that. Hoping, expecting to live a full life. Now, what that means, I had to look this one up for a while. We take it for granted. We take it for granted that we're going to live until we're 99. We take that for granted. We're expecting and hoping that we're going to live a full life, meaning that, oh, I'll get to it later. Oh, I'll get to that when, whoo, man, when I turn 65 and I retire, there's no guarantee that you're going to get there. So we make that mistake. Losing patience, awaiting results. We lose patience because if stuff doesn't come quick enough, we're in a right now generation. If we don't get it right now, we lose our patience. Also, another mistake, common mistake we make in life is comparing ourselves to others. When we start comparing ourselves to others, that we don't know what that person did to get to where they're at. There's one of my favorite John P. Key songs, and it's Life in Favor, and it starts off with, you don't know my story, you don't know the things that I've been through. What if I could tell you? I mean, you don't know the story or the struggles that they've been through. And lastly, one of the most often mistakes we make in life is living an unbalanced life. We're not, living that work-life balance or that church work or church life. We're not living that balance. We have some people that, y'all know the people, all they do is church this, church that, church this, church that. Well, do you have something outside the church? Or you have people who all they do is work. Okay, we gotta start living a balanced life. And so I wanted to put these slides up so you can understand. A failure is not always a mistake. It may simply be the best that one can do under the circumstances. The real mistake is, I think we talked about that earlier when we talked about success. The biggest failure is when you don't try. When you don't try. And a mistake is only a mistake if you don't learn something from it. Now, y'all know who Joe Jackson is?
Yes, but he got.
Don't say it. Who is it, Sister Catherine?
He must have got that from me. I told that to my grandson the other day. He made a big mistake. And I told him, I said, well, mine is not exactly that. Mine is, it's not a mistake. If you learn something from it, then it's an experience. And that's what I told him. I said, so we have to go through experiences in life. If you don't learn anything from it, then you can call it a mistake. But if you learn something, then you can call it an experience. So he left out a key word. So his is not quite like mine.
Yeah.
Mine's a little different.
So just for y'all, if you don't know, Joe Jackson is the father of Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5. So that was one of the mottos that he told them, because everybody would say, oh, he was a taskmaster. Oh, he treated them kids bad. They didn't have a real childhood. He's like, no, he didn't accept mistakes. But you can make a mistake as long as you learn something from it. Why you think they went on to be millionaires and to play all them instruments? Just an aside. So our next major topic is being happy. Look at this one. Y'all know who this guy is?
Don't worry. Be happy.
All right. If you weren't certain. What is it doing? What is it doing? So the reason I played that is because this is it right here. People try to derive happiness by making fun of others. Someone tries to be happy by depicting his nuanced value. You may be happy, but another person may not feel happy in your company. This shows insensitivity towards the concerns of others. This type of happiness does not gel with good personal values. So it's one thing when we say, hey, don't worry, be happy, but don't let your happiness affect and hurt somebody else. In other words, don't be rubbing it in. We don't know when somebody having a bad day, or, you know, we don't know what someone else's circumstances are. So the whole section in this book talks about, yes, you got to be happy in life, and they want this to be a core value, personal value that you have, that you just want to be positive and be uplifting, but don't do it at the hurt or disadvantage of other people. Happiness in life depends on how we treat others and how others behave towards us. And we cannot enjoy happiness in isolation, but can derive happiness in what? A harmonious relationship with others. So let's take it a step further. There are two types of people seeking happiness. Sister Catherine, what's that first one?
One who derives happiness from things already possessed.
And Bianca, what's that second one?
Another who won't be happy until they acquire things not possessed.
Look at this. This is the difference between happy and unhappy people. You look at that first group, one who derives happiness from things they already possess. Hey, you know what? I am happy in this home I have. I love my son. I love my car. You know, whatever you already have. The other person is that person who they have things, but because they have that one thing, they're wanting to acquire that next one. They can't be happy with just what they have. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, this whole chapter talks about being happy in life. Well, it talks about, hey, you got two types of people. Two types of people, those who are happy with what they have and those who are always wanting more, not in the ambitious way, but in the, dare I say, in the greedy or possessive way, that they're never going to be happy because they're never going to have everything they want. I want to say this might be on another slide somewhere, but my mom would always say, if I could give you everything you need and half of what you want, then I'm doing my job as a parent. In other words, you ain't gonna always get everything, but if I can provide for you everything you need and half of what you want, we got it. We're good. So as we see, a good life can be developed on the edifice of creating inner happiness, irrespective of external challenges in life. To remain happy, you have to share your happiness with others. Be happy in the company of other people and thinking about happiness of other people. Goes right back to, I don't want it to be that I have all this happiness and I see the person next to me, they're having a bad day. You can't be, you know, them people that's always, when you talk to them, oh, I'm blessed and highly favored. Oh, the Lord did it. You know, maybe I'm not there today. Maybe I'm not there today. So if nothing else, it wants you to look at your surroundings and be aware of that. So the book then merges into contentment of life. And I was like, contentment of life? Is that the same thing as happiness? And there is a difference between being content and being happy. Anthony, what do you think the difference is?
Yeah, so you can be happy, but there's still desire for something more. Whereas content is that you're okay. Whatever you have, that's enough. That's sufficient.
Okay, all right. And so when we talk about what makes you content in life, what makes people content in life, the book kind of, you know, laid a few things out for us. And I would say we would probably agree with that, right? Our possessions often make us happy. Some of us are happy with just the things that go on day to day. But I want to jump down to think for a moment what makes you feel troubled or discontent. Is it real or of your own making? So most people, I think we talked about that, fear of being poor, fear of not having enough, fear or lack of companionship, fear of being alone, lack of employment. These are things that are probably make people troubled and discontent. But if we really look at the personal values that we should have within us, there should be something in you that even if these three things are happening, even if it's no money, even if you're single, even if you don't have that employment, it should be something in you that will still keep you content. It should be something in you that you can still derive a happiness or a satisfaction from. Because what's that saying they have? You got up and you drew breath today, didn't you? What do they tell you in church? You ought to just be happy that you're on the other side of heaven. That we, that what's that old church song, Sister Catherine? Woke up in their right mind and reasonable, as they say, reasonable reasonable sense in your mind, but that should be enough for us. But we know that in the society we live in, it is not. People are always wanting more, always wanting more. The other major topic, and the reason that we can go through these kind of quickly is because it's basic stuff. These are things that I like to call these last few slides, everything you learned in first grade. And I say that because the next one focuses on healthy acts of kindness. So he has a section on healthy acts of kindness. It might be 3 or 4 paragraphs, but I wanted to just cull it down. When we talk about kindness is an act of selfless service to help someone or to cheer somebody. We've already talked about that. We talked about that with the example that Catherine gave us, that Sister Catherine gave us with her grandson. A simple act of selfless service. Him taking the trash out or him helping that gentleman in that wheelchair, simple act of selfless service. He didn't expect any reward from that. But if we follow that, look what comes with kindness. Would you agree with these things? Love comes with kindness, care, compassion, tolerance, and this one, empathy. Mm-hmm. If we show acts of kindness, these 5 things will follow. And whether you know it or not, you don't have to intentionally be doing that. Well, I'm gonna be kind to somebody so I get love. These things should come naturally. So I think we already did this one, but can y'all think of any other ways that we can show acts of kindness?
I think a big one is sometimes just, it doesn't even have to be a thing you do. It can just be a statement that you make. That can really make a big difference to a person. Just saying something nice to a person.
I just found out recently, one of my coworkers, and I thought this was so neat. I'm like, why don't you do that for me? He's a supervisor of one of the probation officers, and she's been having a rough go at it. We didn't know what the backstory or the situation was, but he could sense something was not good with her. So every day he would just go in her office and he would write a nice note on a Post-it to her, something about, you're great at your job, or you do an awesome job at the way that you do these reports. I mean, and little did we know that is what was getting her through the day. Just that little act of kindness that he was doing. And I was like, wow. He would just put some kind words on a Post-it every day and just put it in her office. He had no idea what she was going through. Okay, and so let's look at this next one. Kindness is a divine virtue. Divinity is based on love. God is love. Love is God. Love is a power that enables us to be kind. They all go together. Have you ever seen a person that you would say, oh, they're so kind, but they are not loving? Have you ever, the two don't go together, right? How can you be loving and not be kind? The two don't go together. And I like I said, I am nowhere near the Bible scholar as most of y'all are on here, but I have not found a passage in the Bible yet, that you know, let's look at Corinthians. What do they say in 1 Corinthians? Love, hope, and they don't say that, oh, you ain't got to have love, but you can still be kind. You ain't got to have hope. You ain't got to have faith, but you can still be kind. Once again, those last few slides, everything that we learned in the first grade or probably even kindergarten, we could apply, right? Be kind to others. Sister Catherine, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say it was faith, hope, and love, or faith, hope, and charity, as you say, whichever.
And of these three, love is the
greatest. Mm-hmm.
Yep. See, y'all, I know some of the Bible. All right, this is one that I want us to get through, and this is accountability. This is the last section that we really had to talk about today. So when we talk about accountability, let's look at this definition. Let's see. Mr. Hanky, I ain't heard from you in a while. Read this for us.
Okay, no problem. Accountability is rooted in our free will capacity to make choices. It is at the core of almost every facet of our society, from how we should interact with one another as human beings, to our legal system, to politics, to ultimately is it how we as citizens hold each other and our leaders responsible in our democracy.
So, you know, if we just take that, Bianca, taking this big Webster's definition out, what is just the plain basic definition of accountability in just regular people words?
I hope I have to make it to the end with this boat, because this boat should not be good.
I'm sorry, y'all. Go ahead, Bianca. I'm sorry. You're on mute, Bianca. There you go.
Accountability. When the first sentence jumped out,
okay.
Accountability is rooted in our free will capacity to make choices. And I think accountability, yes, it allows us to make choices, but it helps us to also remain responsible according to those choices. If I've treated you badly, then I would have to own up to the consequences of how I would have treated you. Whether I have to apologize, whether I have to make things right, however I have to, accountability would cause one to try to make it right. To just be accountable for my actions. I've done wrong, and here are the consequences I have to face, and so I'm going to face it at all costs.
I love how you said
responsible for my choices then.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I love how you put it basically for all of us. Own up to.
Yeah.
Own up to our decisions. Own up to our choices. And have y'all ever heard the saying that you can delegate responsibility, but you can't delegate accountability?
But some people try. The one that really bothers me is when people, they hold others accountable for everything they do, but they don't hold themselves accountable for anything that they do.
Yep,
that's what I mean by some people try.
Yep, or they passing the buck, right? But I love that one. You're right. They're not supposed to delegate that, but they will. They will.
Speaking of holding others accountable, when I'm trying to hold someone accountable, I remember the scripture that says, the same mercy you dish out is the same mercy you receive.
Oh, so I love that.
Trying to hold someone accountable, try to do it out of love and compassion and not judgment and wrath because you don't know when your time will come around and you would want someone to exercise love and compassion toward you rather than wrath and judgment. So
That's a good one. That is a good one. Okay, y'all, we are about to wrap up, but I had to do this for our first class. So we're going to take a brief quiz to see what you think about accountability. So hopefully you have a pen and paper handy so you can jot down your answers. If you don't have one, I will give you a moment to go get it. Let's just see how accountable we are. All right, it looks like Bianca is still getting her pen, and hopefully you can see this on your screen. Let's look at the first three. Number one, what does it mean to be accountable? Pick one of these answers. Let me know when y'all finish those three. And you have to write it down. I didn't make it where you could do it on the screen because it was taking too much for me to figure that out. So y'all ready for the next ones? Uh-oh, Bianca said, wait a minute. All right, let's go to the next set. All right. We got 4 through 6. Okay, tell me when y'all are ready for the last two. Let me know when you're ready for the last two questions. Look like Anthony thinking really hard. All right, I'll go back if we need to, but here's the last two questions. Oh, I'm sorry, I have two more questions after that, but they're real easy. Because it's 10 in total, will be 10 in total. Okay, y'all ready for the last two? I promise. Anthony, I see you still writing. You good? Okay. All right. Here's our last two, 9 and 10. All right. So everybody got it? Everybody done? All right. You're going to have to check your own stuff. You're going to check your own stuff. So, Sister Catherine, what did you put for number 1? And I'll go back to advance the slide in the beginning. Sister Catherine, what did you put for number 1? You're on mute.
Taking responsibility for your actions and being able to discuss the reasons behind them.
All right. And let's see. Samson, what did you put for number 2?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, number 2, I think false.
Number 2 was, oh, you put false?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Let's see. Anthony, what did you put for number 3? You're on mute.
Yes, please. Sorry. Trust.
Great. Okay. All right. So let's see. Mr. Hankey, what did you put for number 4? You're on mute. Which one did you pick?
I think I had a mix up with number 3 and 4.
Oh, okay. So number 4 is holding yourself accountable helps to blank the urge to spend time on distracting activities and other unproductive behaviors. Anybody want to help him out? Because he said he got those two mixed up. What'd you put there, Anthony?
Eliminate.
Awesome. Bianca, what did you put for number 5?
For number 5, I was wondering peace and happiness and excitement, but then being accountable doesn't always bring you happiness and excitement. So peace, because it brings you to that place of calmness. You get that peace, and love. You portray love. You show love. You give off that sense of love, that you care and love someone when you hold yourself accountable for what you've done.
Okay.
That's
Did
it.
anybody else have anything different?
I put 2 answers.
Of course you did. What 2 answers did you put, Sister Catherine?
I put peace and love and focus and confidence.
Yes.
I just feel that, I don't know, for me, if I'm not confident in what I'm doing, you know, so I have to be focused and confident. So I put both of them. I think I put all 4 of them.
Did you do that too?
Yes, I did that. Focus and confidence, peace and love.
Yeah. Look at y'all. It was, well, okay. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. What did you put for number 6, Samson? What did you put for number 6?
Number 6, which was funny, I put owing up to your mistakes.
Mhm.
Yep, that's what Bianca taught us. That's what she told us.
You did.
All right. What about number 7? Justin, what did you put for number 7?
I've been leaning on the wisdom of others, I believe.
Okay. What did anybody else have something different?
For me, who had the answer?
Justin said leaning on the wisdom of others. Did anybody else have a different answer? Which of the following is not an example of accountability?
I would say acting defensively.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see both of y'all said that.
Because you're defending why you did what you did does not mean that you haven't done something wrong or bad or something that offends someone else. I think being accountable, it's not really to defend, but to openly accept that you have done something that is displeasing to someone.
Okay, good explanation. Good explanation.
But,
Go ahead.
on the other hand, because I think she's looking at it in a negative way, but then if you did something positive and then somebody is trying to dispute or disprove the positive thing that you have done, then I guess to be accountable, you have to defend it.
Defend. I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, this is what I'm talking about. Y'all wait till the last 2 minutes of class. That's okay, because I got something for Thursday. Okay. So number 8, when and where should you be accountable? Let's see. Samson, what you got?
All day, every day, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Great.
Exactly.
Did anybody have anything different on that one? We all should have the same on that one.
Yes.
I like that place when it said you're around adults. What? Okay, all right, Justin, what did you have for number 9? True or false? Accountability can be the difference between success and failure.
True.
Awesome. And lastly, Sister Catherine, when it comes to accountability, who is in control?
Me.
You. Yes, me.
But it's you to answer the question, but me, I'm the one. Yes.
And so here are the answers if you want to check your own work. So if you got any, and so 5, that was kind of debatable, but if you answered all of these in the correct thing that the quiz put in there, then that shows you're an accountable person. We don't have to worry about that we're not being accountable to ourselves or others, because, you know, we know that it's not being defensive. We know that peace and love or focus and confidence, you know, can lead to that accountability. The most important thing is that number 6, owning up to your mistakes.
Yep.
I mean, if you don't, that's the whole point of accountability. is I tell people get in front. I call it getting in front of it. Just get in front of it before somebody else got to bring it up. Get in front of it. All right. So since we had started 10 minutes late, I want y'all to know I would have been on time. I would have been on time because it's 9:11. So next week, this is what I want us to do. This is the assignment. List 5 personal values that you believe that you hold. List 5 personal values that you hold. If you got to ask somebody else because you don't know what your values are, just come up with those 5 personal values and be prepared to discuss your 5 personal values. That's the assignment for next week, and we'll do that at the beginning of class. Okay? And so, is there any questions about the session today? I know it seems like it's a lot we covered, but you know, like I told you, personal values is we're going to take it bit by bit, piece by piece, and it'll all make sense at the end. But go ahead.
There's a question though, because when you say next week, are you referring to next class or next week?
I'm sorry, next class. I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying next week. I mean Thursday. Thursday's class.
Okay.
Thursday's class, which is what's that? The 28th. Yep. Thursday the 28th. That's next class. So speaking of next class, so this is what. Oh, look at that. I got some stuff there. Oh, isn't that nice? Look at me. Okay, so next week, as I said, we're going to discuss our assignment at the top of the class. We're going to review topics 1 through 11, kind of what we talked about today, just kind of hit some of the highlights and make sure there's nothing that now that y'all have had time, because this slide deck is going to be uploaded. So if you want to go back through it, and when we get together on Thursday, if you say, hey, I have a question about, you know, when we talked about contentment or when we talked about, you know, accountability or whatever, we can go back over that. But then the other portion of personal values. So basically there are, just so y'all know, there are 33 subsections. So I did 11 at a time so that we can get through them, because I thought that was too much to try and do all 33 in one setting, or even half of them. So these are the topics we'll discuss next week. I'll just put them all up here so you can kind of glance at them. So as you can see, and like I said, it's.
Will it be on Canvas?
Go ahead.
I said, will this be on Canvas for me to access it? Will you put it on Canvas? Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, I'm gonna upload this slide deck so that you'll already have all the information that can be your study guide when we do have the exam. And as you know, it's open book. For next week, these are just some broad topics that we're gonna talk about. Like, does money bring you happiness? One of my favorite ones that I think we'll all get a benefit of is I think it's on here, the benefit of silence. Oh my God, that is a good one. And they were able to actually relate it to, I was able to find information on how we can relate it in the biblical sense. Blew my mind. So these are the topics for next week. If there's nothing else, I think we're done for the day. I'm pretty sure.
But I think number 15 would be a good one too. And I'm looking forward to number 15.
Oh yeah. I'm telling y'all, when I start going through this book, it really makes you think about stuff, and even how faith affects us. Just little stuff that we don't even realize has helped develop our personal values and stuff. So. All right, well, I don't want to hold y'all much longer. 9:15. Look at that. We still got out at a reasonable time. But next week, I'm going to do my darndest to start right at 6. We're going to start right at 6. So I'm glad I got to meet everybody. Good night, good evening, and I will see y'all on Thursday.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Bye.
Blessings.
Blessings.